Hi, my name is Coach Judith. For those of you who are new to our quarantine coding club, I have been teaching computer science for about 6 years, and I hope we're going to have a great time today. I've worked also in industry. Usually, I teach in person. Obviously, this is a new thing for us, but I think we're going to have a great time. So let's get started watching this video that my coworker Steven made.
We begin as always with a blank page.
So I like to stop the videos as we're watching them. Um, First, Stephen is showing a piece of paper and some colored pens. So just curious what your favorite types of paper and pen are. I know everybody has favorites. I personally like to use felt pens, and my favorite is a purple felt pen. I love purple, it's my favorite color. I like to have paper with lines. I am not really good at clear handwriting, and so I like to have a little bit of guidance. But everybody has different types of favorite papers. So um, let's see what Steven's going to show us about his paper.
It's empty and waiting for our thoughts. And that actually is the whole purpose of paper.
For those of you who don't have paper in front of you, now would be a good time to go get it. Usually we ask for that at the end of our last session. We asked you to bring paper this time. If you don't have it, now's a good time to go get it. And maybe some of your favorite pens.
Place to put more thoughts than can fit into the human mind at any given time. The quicker you
Did you guys see what Steven did? He just played leapfrog with that little man. That was funny.
can get your thoughts onto a surface, the more quickly you can think complex thoughts.
Do you guys know what that little man is? Anybody out there an artist? Artists use those little models when they're drawing people. They use them and they pose them and it helps them. Just wondering, we've all had a lot of extra time in our houses. Wondering what activities you've been doing to pass the time. I have been doing a lot of reading. I've been reading the news a lot, probably more than I should. I've been reading books. I like to read books on paper, but recently, just in the last few weeks, I've started to read books online. And I found out that my local library, I can download books to my tablet and read them that way, and they're free, and I love that. What are you guys doing in your extra free time?
And the faster you can think complex thoughts, the quicker you can solve difficult problems. So learn how to use paper. And I'm not saying that you need to be a great artist.
That's baloney.
Hey, who knows who that was? That was Bob Ross. Probably most of you don't weren't around when he was teaching painting, but he used to teach people how to paint on the internet, and it was always people who said, "I don't know how to paint. I can't draw a straight line." I'm one of those people, but that's what he did. Look him up on Wikipedia, Bob Ross.
You just need to know how to represent ideas on paper as quickly as possible.
Anything that you're willing to practice, you can do.
Okay, I think that's a really good point. So he says, anything you can practice, you can do. And let's think about some of the things that we have to practice at and get better at. One of them is being an artist. The more you paint, the better you'll be at painting. One of them is coding. The more you do coding, the better you're going to get at coding. Music, practicing a musical instrument. Probably a lot of you have parents who are saying, go practice the piano, go practice the violin. And truly, if you don't practice, you're never going to improve. But if you do, you will get better. And now we have all this extra time while we're in our houses. This is a good time to practice things that maybe you didn't have a chance to before.
To begin this lesson, in the upper left-hand corner of your page, I want you to draw an iceberg. Make sure you put in the water line.
Okay, this is the time when you're actually going to use that paper that you got and draw a picture of an iceberg. You know what an iceberg is? It's a big piece of ice, like probably in Antarctica. You have icebergs, they float along, they're huge. Maybe some polar bears are laying on top of them. We want you to draw an iceberg in the upper left corner of your blank piece of paper.
Now, in the tip of the iceberg, I want you to write 2 frowny faces. Because this is where we're going to write the number of currently active COVID-19 cases in your area.
Okay, so don't panic. How are we going to find out how many cases of COVID-19 are in our area? What are some sources that we could look at? So I know a lot of people are going to say the internet. Where on the internet? And how are you going to know that that is accurate? You might go to your local newspaper. Maybe your local newspaper is delivered to your house. Maybe they have an online source. I live in San Diego. We have the San Diego Union Tribune. I get a actual paper copy of the newspaper delivered to my house. And I have an app on my phone that sends me updates. And every single day they've been publishing how many people have COVID-19 in San Diego County. So there are a lot of sources. It's important to know that your news source is accurate, but go look up how many cases of COVID-19 are active in your area today.
I checked this morning, and for me, that was 341. However, what scientists do know is that for every active confirmed case, there are likely 10 times as many people who are sick and don't know it.
Okay, so what Stephen just said is whatever number you found, now he recorded this 3 or 4 days ago in San Diego. Since he said the number 341, what I read in the paper today was that it was well over 500 cases. So it's gone up quite a bit in the last few days. And what he's saying is that that number is only 1/10 the number of actual cases. So we take my number of 500, we're going to multiply it by 10, we're going to have over 5,000 cases, but only 500 of those people know that they're sick.
And therefore may be actively spreading the virus to others. 1 frowny face. Because these people may not be feeling bad yet. They will be.
So some of you maybe have heard from things you've read or from things you've heard on the radio or the internet or your parents. So it looks like people get exposed to COVID-19 and they have 2 or 3 days where they don't feel sick. They can walk around. They can be getting other people sick before they have any symptoms. That's what Stephen's referring to.
They're not yet. The number you put down here is simple. Just multiply your top number by 10. You know the trick. Just put a 0 on the end. Be sure to use numbers that are relevant to your area. Look them up if you have to. This is real information. We're representing something about the real world on our paper. Something that I don't want to have to keep in my mind.
Okay, so there's that word homework. So everything we're doing now is working at home. So I'm not sure how relevant that word homework is, but so what we want you to do is take out that piece of paper, draw your iceberg, write the number of cases in your county or your city right now above the water line on the iceberg, multiply it by 10, and that's the number of cases that there actually are in your area. And then you have that down on paper. You don't have to remember it anymore because it's all written down for you.
Because it's complex. It's complicated. I need to get it out of my mind, onto paper.
All right, there's a term, distributed cognition. Those are 2 big words. But the idea behind distributed cognition is that you don't have to remember all the information in your own head. You're going to use other people, you're going to use tools, you're going to use other things to have all that knowledge stored for you so that you don't have to remember it all, that you can just remember things in your own head that are the most important, but you still have access to all the information.
so that I can look at it and read it back in and think about what I can do to help.
Who has thought about what they can do to help? I'm sure all of us are thinking about what's going on in our world right now, in our community, in our family. What can we do to help? Whether it's sending money to people or picking up groceries and leaving them in front of your grandma's door because you don't want grandma to go out to the supermarket, or creating entertainment online for people to watch. So think about things that you can do to help.
Let's label our iceberg. Let's give our iceberg a name. I'm going to name mine Sick in San Diego.
Well, that's not a very fun name, is it? Sick in San Diego. Let's think of some names that maybe you want to put on your iceberg. They could be sick in your city, or you could give them another name. In one of our videos, we named something Bob. You could name your iceberg Bob if you want. It doesn't really mean much, but whatever you want to name your iceberg.
When I think on paper, I try to use words as little as possible. Remember that the page you're on at any given time is a finite resource.
A finite resource. What does that mean? That means you only have a limited amount of it. The finite resource that I'm thinking about right now, that everybody's thinking about right now, is toilet paper. But is that really a finite resource? There's only so much of it. In your city, maybe there is a finite resource every single day and everybody runs out and buys it. What are some other finite resources that you might have in your home, in your community? What are some infinite resources? Those are things that there's no end to. Maybe let's think about something like the water cycle. Maybe you've studied the water cycle. So water comes out of a cloud as rain. We use it for things like plants and drinking water. Then it goes back into the soil as waste, and it kind of goes around and around in a cycle. Is that an infinite resource? What are some other infinite resources that you have access to?
Every mark you make depletes that resource. It clutters the idea space. And because pictures can be worth thousands of words, it is the most economical use of that resource to use pictures.
A picture is worth 1,000 words. I bet you've heard that expression before. I've certainly heard that expression before. How many of you like to draw pictures? So the picture, you only have to draw the picture one time instead of writing 1,000 words. That's what Stephen is talking about there.
As often as possible. But I'm going to make an exception.
All right, we are going to stop the recording here. We're going to pass this over now to my friend Sunny, who's going to continue.